Hello viewers, well, catching up with the first of the new games that have been revealed, released over the last few weeks has been more details on Forza Motorsport, a game which has been years in the making. I think to myself, the last time we had a new Forza Motorsport game was in 2017. My goodness, 6 years ago when Forza Motorsport 7 came out. Then it went quiet for a couple of years, and then they talked about a new Forza Motorsport, reimagining, if you like, brand new level, Xbox Series X dedicated game. It's going to use the full power, going to push turn 10, and it was going to be everything they wanted Forza Motorsport to be. Forza Motorsport has been through several changes over the years. You know, when you go from the original game, the very simulation elements to it, for myself, there were huge technical steps forward in Forza Motorsport 3 and 4. I kind of felt that Forza Motorsport 4 was the pinnacle of the series before a step change in terms of the physics in 5, which just didn't work for me. I remember at the time the rear wheels spinning up on various cars and just not feeling the traction in the way I should. Moving through Forza 6, and we had things like the puddles in the rain, which just felt like a gimmick to me. And then playing Forza 7, I remember driving it, didn't feel like a car at all. I was sitting there with a real racing driver who said the car performs the opposite in real life to the way it performs in the game. There was something fundamentally wrong with the physics. So moving on to Forza Motorsport, again, it's a really weird naming convention. I see they wanted to break from Forza 7. They didn't want to call it Forza 8. Okay, we're calling it something new. All right, we're going to call it the same as the previous game. I always find it is a little confusing to call a game by that, because now it'll be called Forza Motorsport 2023, just so we don't get confused. But then Xbox have kind of done that with the Xbox One, haven't they? Anyway, we look at the trailers, and obviously graphics looks good, everything's there, we've got lots of detail, there's nice menu systems, add stuff to your car, nice rendering. Nothing new there though. That's pretty much what we had and what you kind of expect from Turn 10. When I looked at the videos last year, I commented how I was immediately disappointed. It started off with that Forza Horizon vibe. The motorsport element, you had different cars, different classes racing each other, just some generic cars driving around the track. There was no real racing there. So racing and motorsport was the key aspect for me, rather than sports cars, if you like, even though that's always been a big part of Forza Motorsport. The focus for me was on actual racing cars. You listen to the various videos I have, they talk about the physics, they talk about the many modes and many races, the dirt build up on the car, for example. It's a nice little simulation, it looks really good. But then it doesn't look good, because once you see the game actually running, it has this kind of filter to it, of the yellow light filter we used to have on Codemasters games. It had a special name years ago, and it has that filter to it. It just doesn't look real. It doesn't feel real. In fact, when I looked at it, I thought it's more like Forza Motorsport 8. Why don't we just call it Forza Motorsport 8 and be done with it? So I'm looking at the game and I'm thinking it all looks really nice. It's great Turn 10 technology, but nothing feels like a real motor race that I'm watching. Once we get into the racing itself, the wheel, it's just solid. When you're in a real car, there's bobbling on the ground, or there's buffeting of the wind and movement of suspension. You're fighting the car. You're always sort of fighting. Even if you're not pushing, there's always like a little bit of movement like that. There's always something. There's always some vibration, especially in these cars. They have quite hard suspension, sports suspension to them. There's always a lot of feeling from the ground. Again, you're constantly moving, accelerating, braking. There's that fight of the wheel as you're going round, fighting the G-force, fighting the whatever, however the tyres are in terms of tyre temperature. I watched the video from the demonstration and I felt it looks kind of bland in terms of the overall feeling in the car. I also noticed the car that the player was driving, there was a lot of suspension travel in there, so you could see the weight transfer quite visibly in terms they wanted to show that. However, when I looked at the CPU cars, they were not moving nearly as much as your car. In fact, I couldn't see some of them moving at all. I've looked at it and they just look solid. It's almost like your car's the only one with the physics. I also look at the track surface. It's bland. There's no life to it. In fact, the track, and I mentioned this before, it looks very flat, and there's a few shots where I look at the track, it looks kind of dated. There's not enough detail on the actual track. Car looks great, but the track's they're just not there. It doesn't feel real. The artistic approach to the yellow light and some of the filters that they have doesn't look real. When you're looking at the CPU cars racing each other, they're racing offline. They're racing all over the track. What's a car doing over there, over there? They're all over the place racing each other. So when you're watching, thinking you're watching a real race, you're not. You're not believably in the moment. It doesn't feel real. So for all of your dirt appearing on cars and all the other bits and bobs of technical gubbins that they give you along the way, I'm just watching it and think, I want to watch this and think, wow, that looks like a real motor race. It feels like real life. In fact, it's indistinguishable from real life. I don't get that when I watch any of the demonstrations and the trailers I've seen. I say it's Forza Motorsport 8. It's a great looking game. You've got amazing modelling on your cars, amazing technology throughout. The fundamental problem with Forza Motorsport was the physics. That's really all I care about seeing fixed, is getting the physics absolutely nailed on this, because it was embarrassingly bad when I saw Le Mans drivers, real Le Mans drivers, playing Forza Motorsport and unable to drive the cars that they actually drive in real life without driving four corners and falling off the track because it just didn't handle properly. It was embarrassing. So now I want to see a Forza Motorsport game that really handles properly, where real racing drivers can get on there and say, this feels amazing. And then I want assists, so that if you're not a real racing driver, you can turn those assists on. And if you're an absolute beginner, you can play it easy peasy as well. A game for everybody that takes it all the way to the limit. This is what Forza Motorsport should be. It's had years, 6 years since the last game. One would assume that time really, and what the resources that Microsoft, Turn 10 have, their various studios in terms of technology, they should be able to bring this together. You see, for me, it doesn't matter if a game has 100 cars, 200 cars, 500 cars, if the cars don't handle as they should. I'd take 100 cars that handle brilliantly over 500 cars in the game just to keep a stat up. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Forza Motorsport comes together. I'm looking forward to playing it later this year and testing it out if the opportunity comes my way. I don't think it will, because I'm considered negative. I'm not negative against Turn 10 Studios. I just want it to be the best game it can be. But to do that, they need to recognise that some things didn't work out as they should in the past, and they need to improve upon those things. And if they can't recognise the problems, they can't fix them, and it won't be the game that we all want it to be. This should be the real direct competitor to Gran Turismo in terms of console racing. At the moment, I've not seen the evidence to point in the right direction, but we'll wait and see on that one. Maybe a hands-on later this year, who knows. What do you guys think? Do you watch it, and is it everything you want it to be? I would love to have your feedback and perhaps talk about that on a future video as well. What do you want from Forza Motorsport? What are the elements that you always enjoyed? I think for me, I just enjoyed tuning my car, or I'd say tuning my car. Other people tuned them. I used the tunes. I just enjoyed doing time trials, competing with friends, getting on leaderboards. Forza was always a bit more, shall we say, bump and grind racing compared to, say, Gran Turismo, that had more refinements to it. But I do feel that they need to move forward with the online racing as well, to make cleaner online racing and make eSport championships actually mean something, really bringing that to a wider audience. Let's wait and see. But that's it. That's my few words on Forza Motorsport. I look forward to seeing more, but there's still work to do, no doubt. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.